Okay, quick question. Why do football clubs sign players? Anyone? To play football for them? Oh dear, how naive. Oh, sorry Roman, I didn't actually spot that you had your hand up there. To farm them out on loan for 6 years before selling them for a profit, so that you can then spunk over £70 million away on a Spaniard whose arms are made out of poppadoms, only to replace him 12 months later? Yeah, that's more like it. Yes, contrary to what you may think, not all players who are signed by a football club ever play for that football team. Take Takuma Asano, the Japanese international, who was signed by Arsenal in 2016, spent 3 years out on loan, and was sold to Partizan Belgrade for £900,000. Great work, Gunners. An economic experiment about as successful as one of the Forex, day trading, or cryptocurrency scams that half of you probably get bombarded with when you're just trying to watch my latest HITC Sevens masterpiece. Anyhow, Asano featured in my recent video taking a look at 7 players who I feel deserve transfers in the summer of 2021, and he was the inspiration for this video. It must be said that unlike with some of the videos I make, it is not difficult to find 7 players who were signed and sold by a club without ever playing in a competitive fixture for them. But that gave me the freedom to pick out what I think are 7 fairly interesting examples. Without further ado then, although he could actually have featured since he has been signed by 2 teams, Jagodina in Serbia and Österlen in Sweden, where he didn't play a single game, but he doesn't, so without further ado, in spite of his eligibility, here are 7 footballers who signed for clubs but never played for them. Alvaro Negredo. Getting us started is a man who most of you will recall from either his time at Valencia or either of his 2 seasons in the Premier League. Alvaro Negredo is a useful starting point because he was signed not just once, but twice by the same club, and he still never registered a single competitive first-team appearance for them. If that is to be your fate, you'd best at least hope that it's a club of some magnitude, and in Negredo's case it was none other than Real Madrid. Negredo was born in Madrid, but he came through the youth ranks at Rayo Vallecano, the Spanish capital's plucky and passionate minnows. Having scored prolifically for Vallecano's B team in the Tercera division in his teens, Negredo was promoted to the first team at the age of 18. Though he only managed 1 goal in 12 Segunda Division B outings for Los Vallecanos, Real Madrid had already seen enough to convince them to poach the youngster from their neighbours. Negredo went into the Real Madrid Castilla team, where he scored 22 goals in 65 games. Fabio Capello called him up to the first team for a few matchday squads, but Negredo never got out on the pitch. He was subsequently sold to Almeria for £2.7 million, where he bagged a very impressive 32 goals in 73 games for the La Liga side, prompting a £4.5 million return to Madrid as per the terms of his buyback clause. However, despite having signed Negredo for the second time, Los Blancos still didn't give him a first-team appearance. Following strong links of a move to either Hull City or Real Zaragoza, Negredo ended up signing for Sevilla during that same transfer window for £13.5 million. He continued to score prolifically in Andalusia, which led to a move to Manchester City, and the 35-year-old, who still stars in La Liga for Cadiz, has since played for Valencia, Middlesbrough, Besiktas and Al Nassr. David Unsworth. This is a funny one. David Unsworth was born in the town of Chorley in Lancashire, and he came through the youth ranks at Everton. Following 6 seasons in the Toffees' first team, Unsworth made a move down south to join West Ham United. But following a single season, he decided that he wanted to move back home with his family. His wife had just given birth, so Unsworth wanted to move to a club a little bit closer to Merseyside. 2 teams came in with firm offers, Aston Villa and his old club Everton. You probably don't need me to tell you this, but just in case, Everton is much closer to Everton and to Merseyside than Aston Villa. But Unsworth's old club was struggling at the time, whilst Villa were troubling the top end of the Premier League table, so he chose to join the Birmingham club instead. Following his first day of training for the 7-time English champions, it took Unsworth 3 hours to drive back to Merseyside. The following day, he went into manager John Gregory's office and told him that he wanted to leave. Gregory thought it was a joke at first, before suggesting that the family move closer to Birmingham, but Unsworth insisted that his wife would be having none of it. After less than a month at Villa Park, with his only appearance having come in a friendly against Wycombe Wanderers, Unsworth slumped off back to Goodison Park for roughly the same fee that Villa had paid for him. Unsworth became a stalwart once again for Everton, though he later signed for a string of clubs that are much further from Merseyside than Villa Park, before retiring from playing football in 2009. Thankfully, the 47-year-old is back to his home comforts now as an academy director and under-23 coach at Goodison Park. Mario Pasalic. You can take your pick with Chelsea, quite frankly, as I alluded to in the introduction, but I thought it best to only include one man who signed for but never played for the Blues. That man is Mario Pasalic, one of the West Londoners' more recent examples, having been signed in 2014 under Jose Mourinho before departing last summer under Frank Lampard, who actually left Chelsea as a player during the same summer that Pasalic arrived. The German-born Croatian international seemingly had no lack of talent, but a rather glaring and significant lack of a work permit required to play football in the United Kingdom. There appears to be some confusion surrounding the work permit requirements for Croatian footballers in the UK, even before the UK left the European Union. Pasalic apparently didn't meet FA requirements to be granted a permit, and Chelsea remained unconvinced that one would be granted upon appeal, which is the same reason why they decided not to sign Andre Kramaric, though he was granted a work permit, upon appeal after signing for Leicester City instead. Pasalic instead went out on loan to Elche, Monaco, AC Milan, Spartak Moscow, and Atalanta. The last of those 5 loan moves came with the option of making the deal a permanent one, which Atalanta exercised last summer, signing the Croatian midfielder for what I think was a bit of a bargain, €15 million. Nonetheless, it represented a healthy profit for Chelsea, who only paid £2.25 million to sign Pasalic from Hajduk Split back in 2014. Carlo Nash. Just as there are more examples from Chelsea for a video of this ilk than there are from any other club, so too are there more examples among goalkeepers than players in any other position. From a crowded field, the man who gets the nod from me is Carlo Nash, who I believe is a HITC Sevens virgin making his first appearance on the channel right now. Congratulations, Carlo. What a shame it is for the fact that a club signed you but didn't actually want to play you. But hey, I'm sure you knew the score when you signed for them. I say that because Carlo Nash was something of a perennial backup option throughout his playing days, playing second fiddle at Wolves, Man City, Middlesbrough, Wigan Athletic, Everton, Stoke City and Norwich City. In fact, if you only account for league games, 4 different teams signed Carlo Nash and didn't give him a single league appearance, and 5 if you count loan moves. Taking fixtures in all competitions into account though, the only team who didn't give Nash a solitary appearance was Norwich City. An enthusiastic travel photographer and devout Christian, Nash joined the Canaries in the summer of 2013 under Chris Hughton as a third-choice goalkeeper behind John Ruddy and Mark Bunn. Perhaps unsurprisingly then, he failed to register a single appearance, and at the end of the season, Nash divorced his wife and retired from playing football, aged 40. In 2016, he entered the world of coaching at Oldham Athletic, and he has been employed by Salford City as a goalkeeping coach since 2018, a club who are part-owned by Nash's former club captain at Everton, Phil Neville. Aaron Mooy. Another member of world football's elite who have acquired a bit of a habit for hoarding, Manchester City might not quite rival Chelsea on this front, but they certainly seem to have made a handful of signings with a farm-out and flog-it policy in mind. Aaron Mooy is one such example, having joined the Sky Blues from Melbourne City in 2016 on a free transfer. The Australian outfit previously turned down a $2 million bid from Saudi outfit Al Nassr, so why they let Mooy leave on a free is anyone's guess. I mean, it could have had something to do with the fact that Manchester City are owned by the City Football Group, and so are Melbourne City, meaning the negotiations presumably just involved Khaldoon Al-Mubarak shaking his own hands together before laughing about how his employers rule a despotic, undemocratic regime where you can be put to death for being LGBT, apostasy is also punishable by death, and stoning is considered a legitimate means of capital punishment. On a lighter note, after signing for the Citizens, Mooy was sent out on loan to Huddersfield Town, where he enjoyed a barnstorming season in the Championship as the Terriers won promotion. Over the summer, the club from West Yorkshire signed Mooy on a permanent basis for between £8 to £10 million, subject to add-ons, meaning that he never played for Man City. Now aged 30, the Socceroos star left Huddersfield following their relegation to join Brighton, and he now plays for Shanghai SIPG in the rapidly crumbling Chinese Super League. David Livermore. Like David Unsworth, David Livermore was signed and sold by the same club within a single transfer window, though in his case it was the club's choice rather than the players. Born in North London and a graduate of the Arsenal Academy, Livermore made the roughly 7-mile journey south of the river in 1999 to join Millwall. Following 7 seasons at the Den, Millwall were relegated from the Championship, but Livermore had shown enough in the division to attract interest over the summer. He joined Millwall's rivals Leeds United, who had fallen at the final hurdle in the Championship playoff final the previous year, for £540,000. Leeds were cash-strapped following relegation from the Premier League, making £500,000 a pretty significant outlay for them. However, after Rob Hulse was sold to Sheffield United for £3 million, manager Kevin Blackwell had freed up enough funds to sign his primary midfield target, Kevin Nicholls, for £1 million from Luton Town. As such, within the space of a week, Livermore had become surplus to requirements. He never played so much as a friendly at Ellen Road, and literally 10 days after signing on the dotted line, he was sold to Hull City in a deal which essentially cost Leeds £45,000 since they sold him for a loss. Ironically, losing £45,000 in a week is something Hull City themselves would later become very familiar with after signing Jimmy Bullard. However, in this instance, it was Livermore and the Tigers who had the last laugh, mounting a great escape during the 2006-07 season to stay in the Championship at Leeds United's expense, with Nicholls barely featuring due to an injury as Leeds dropped down into League One. John Obi Mikel. The strangest inclusion of the lot, I must admit. I never fully understood the circumstances surrounding John Obi Mikel's transfer saga during the summer of 2006, but I think I do now, with an emphasis on the words I think there. Mikel was born in the city of J-Town in Nigeria, and he made his name outside of Nigeria at the 2003 Under-17 FIFA World Cup finals in Finland, signing for Norwegian outfit Lyn shortly after the tournament finished. 2 years prior to that, Manchester United had unsuccessfully tried to sign Mikel on a scholarship. 2 years later, though, they would sign him, agreeing a deal that would be completed upon the completion of the Norwegian League season in January 2006. The deal was done. Mikel was even unveiled as a Manchester United player whilst wearing the club's shirt. But then, 2 weeks later, Mikel appeared in an interview stating that he wanted to join Chelsea and had been pressured into signing for Manchester United. Chelsea had also lodged their own complaints. The whole affair got so messy that when Mikel went missing, Manchester United's assistant manager, Carlos Nash, accused Chelsea of illegally kidnapping the midfielder. In all the furore, the truth got a bit lost, but Mikel has more recently revealed what was really going on, and that was simply that he had a lot of different voices in his ears, and he was just 18 years old. It is pretty tragic when you think about it, that such life-altering decisions are put on such a young man or boy's shoulders, with lots of self-interested characters sending him different messages. In the end, Mikel set his heart on Stamford Bridge, with the presence of 3 other Nigerian players at the West London club being his primary factor, according to Mikel's own accounts. Manchester United had paid Lyn £4 million to acquire Mikel's services, meanwhile Chelsea then had to pay Lyn a further £4 million and Manchester United £12 million to make the whole issue go away. Mikel did at least go on to rack up 372 appearances for Chelsea, winning 9 trophies with the club, and aged 33, he now plays for Stoke City. So that is it for today's video, but thank you all as ever for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's video, please do hit the like button, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section, and make sure that you are subscribed and have notifications turned on for HITC Sevens. You can also find me on social media, on Twitter or Instagram via the username at HITC Sevens, should you feel so inclined.